Professor, from your perspective, how do you understand this ambition of China to have the Chinese path toward modernization and share it with the developing world?
I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years. I think it's a role model for many countries, but I think also we should leave it to each country to make its own decision what system it wants to adopt. And I think we should be very careful in imposing systems. But the Chinese model is certainly a very attractive model for quite a number of countries. I look very much forward to have a strong Chinese voice in Davos to explain even better to the world what it means, the Party Congress, which laid down the principles of the policy, what it really means for global collaboration and for global development.
Among many of the initiatives brought over by the Party Congress in terms of international relations and global development, there's one thing called Global Development Initiative.
I have seen
and of course, earlier there was also talks about Global Security Initiative. Now, Professor, this, according to China's leadership, is complementary to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So how do you see these initiatives based on earlier practices? There were initiatives of Belt and Road and other things coming from China with the international community. To what way shall we be able to nurture and create together?
I think first it's very important to take such initiatives because we have to show a path to the future. And we have to do it on a national and we have to do it on a global level. Then I think it's very important that we make sure that those initiatives really get global support. Because I come back to the point which is so important, it's only through global collaboration. And we know that the global system depends very much on regional pillars, if I may say so. But we have to avoid that we have only two pillars. The world will be on a much more stable situation if all countries can become pillars of the same, let's say, collaborative system, which allows different ways, but at the end provides a common approach.
Recently, we see the visit by Chancellor of Germany, for example, to China makes a new page, some say, about the discussion between China and Europe. Now, Professor, I know you're having a global vision, but at the same time, you're based in Europe. How do you see this potential of China, Europe, and China multilateral voices in a way?
I'm watching with great satisfaction that during the pandemic and now also with the war which we have at the borders of the European Union has become more unified. And we should not forget that Europe is still, in terms of trade, in terms also of economic power, it's one of the big powers in the world. So I'm very pleased that we speak not only about Chinese-US relations, but also again about European-Chinese relations. And I feel, despite all the question marks and to a certain extent cautious approach which we see in Europe, I think that very close ties can be established again between China and Europe, because there's such an interwoven economy. And so I'm very pleased if we can make progress in European-Chinese cooperation.